this evening, for us to use, for you to use, is chance. What would happen if we took a chance? Many of us here, some of you who are new, some of you who are visitors, you're taking a chance by coming here this evening and trusting that the values that you've heard colleagues mention, that we live by them, that we share those values with you. So what would happen if we took a chance? So that's my challenge to you this evening, and I'll be back in a bit later. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. So we come to the speeches. Tonight we have 3 speakers. Before we call on the first speaker, I would like to call on the evaluator for the first speaker. The first speaker is Tanuj, but his evaluator is Jayesh De Silva. Jayesh, would you mind reading out the speech objectives?
Yeah. So Tanuj is speaking through the Competent Communicator Manual number 8, speech number 8, and it has the following objectives. Select a visual aid that's appropriate for the message and for the audience. Use the visual aid with ease and confidence, and speak within 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you, Jayesh. Okay. So Tanuj, talking about his stepping out of his comfort zone. In his last job, he said he did many activities which forced him to come out of his comfort zone. That included chaperoning celebrities to mopping floors. So the speech this evening, the title is Cricket plus India equal hysteria. Cricket plus India equal hysteria. Please welcome up Tanuj.
Right. So, in my last speech, I spoke about some of the Indian stereotypes, and here I'm talking about cricket. There can't be a bigger stereotype about Indians than cricket. But before I begin, let me set a stage and take you on a journey. Not this kind, it won't be that rocky or adventurous. It would be more about understanding the spirit of India, understanding the spirit of people of India. We all know India is a very multicultural society. There are a lot of traditions, a lot of cultural aspects that are blended into the country. And we know how far the country has come since its independence 60 plus years ago, where the global corporations are led by some of the most reputed industrialists in the country. But we continue to hold some of the superstitious values of India, which can be seen with a pinch of salt. You can think that is it still holding India back, or is it something that India stands for? But there are still a lot of things that people don't know about India. There is still a very stereotypical view about India, and it's seen with only few colors of the present. So India obviously is a combination of multiple society fabrics, I would say. There are lots of religions that are practiced in the country. There are lots of religious, I should say, associations people could have, but there isn't one that can define India. Similarly, there are lots of attires or lots of dresses that different people from different regions wear. So there isn't one type of dress that you can think about that Indians wear. There isn't one language. If I am not mistaken, there are about 2,500 different languages that are officially recorded in India. Obviously, some of them are more prominent than others and are hence more actively practiced. There isn't one type of food that's eaten. Leave alone the types of food, there isn't even a consensus about which region is primarily vegetarian or non-vegetarian. You can see the red here represents more non-vegetarian eating areas, and the green represents more vegetarian eating areas. So why does it cricket is something that unifies or unites India? Why is it that one game has come to describe what Indians believe in as a sport? Why isn't it about hockey or swimming or any other sports? So that's the theme I want to cover today, fellow Trojans and most esteemed guests. I am proposing this hypothesis that cricket plus India equals Hysteria. I tried to make it rhyme, it doesn't rhyme as well. And as you know, the Oxford Dictionary definition of hysteria is an exaggerated and uncontrolled emotion, and which is what you would witness if you are not following the Cricket World Cup just yet. Please do not contact any of your Indian or Pakistani friends this Sunday, because they are not going to entertain you. And you would learn what it means to follow cricket. So that's a hypothesis I'm trying to prove, and I am on that journey to figure out why is it that cricket defines India. So I'm going to cover 5 core things that I believe are the reasons cricket is so popular in India at the moment. The first one is accessibility. Though the core sport is very technical, but you can actually play it with bare minimum equipment. I remember playing it in the corridor of my college with a book in my hand as the bat and a ball. So all you needed actually was a ball as in form of equipment. Growing up, and this is still the practice in India, you tend to play. India is not has not got privilege of a lot of fields, etc. So growing up, you play cricket wherever it's accessible. What we call it as gully cricket, essentially in the alley or the lane you live in. So you just make do with what's available and you start playing. And as you can see, people can get really innovative. You see the stumps here. Ideally, if anybody here doesn't know about cricket, there should be 3 stumps here, so you can see only 2. And the third one has been somehow put together using the footwear. And if it comes to really pushing the boundaries, people can go that far. And if you have not heard about the Jugaad technology of India, I would strongly recommend you to read about it. So, though I would not recommend this approach because it's hurting the animals, but you get the gist. So this was the first reason why I feel India is able to access cricket so well. Second reason I feel is the the greatest of all time players have come out of India, and that has helped to stitch together Indians' journey to aspire and idealize these sports people and follow the cricket as well. So these are the two tables here using the most runs that have been scored either in the one-day international format, which is a 50-over game played within a day, or a test match format, which is played over the course of 5 days and 2 innings. And as you can see, I don't think I need to introduce the name Sachin Tendulkar here, but beyond him, you can see some of the top players are from India, and which has essentially allowed Indians to leverage the visibility that India is getting in the game of cricket. And at least for my generation, I can claim that there have been constantly some ideals that have always led the game from the front, be it in terms of the technicalities or in terms of making sure that they are scoring the best. So on the left here is Sunil Gavaskar and Sachin Tendulkar, who is now being replaced very swiftly by the current genius and world #1 player Virat Kohli. And actually, it is not stopping there. The next generation is already knocking on the door, and they are part of the Indian team and actually have started to make big moves and score records. Point number 3, or the validation number 3, is major victories. So along the way, obviously, India has had its share of success. In 1983, India won the Prudential World Cup, which was the first World Cup that India won. But there was a bit of a gap where India was not able to come up with the best players all along, and won some subsequent games as the time went by. So that has also helped Indians to aspire and look up to their heroes and ensure that they are doing best. Number 4 is Indian Premier League, which is IPL. This is a football-like format that has come up in recent times in India. It's been about 10 years that IPL has been going on. And on an annual basis, it's the festive jamboree, or you can call it the marketing miracle that has created this biggest tournament in the world right now. No other domestic game or domestic tournament gets this kind of eyeball as IPL does. These are just the teams that participate, and they have brought in NFL-like cheerleader format where film stars are involved as well as politicians are involved. So it goes the whole 9 yards with regards to catching everyone's attention. The last bit, and I'll quickly cover this because I'm out of time, is the BCCI. So this is the government body that controls Indian cricket at the moment, and they have really gone out of their way to ensure that they are not only creating their own version of red tapeism, but ensuring that the international bodies are following suit as well. In last 8 years, the output of IPL has been 800%. So from where it started in humble beginnings of 25 million, as of now we are looking at over 200 billion output from IPL. And there have been their share of scams as well. If you are interested, please follow Hassan Minhaj. He's a famous comedian. He has done pretty much same set of topics but in his own style. And India has come a long way from the first match, and just to prove the point where India has come, I wanted to show this short video. Thank you.
Thank you, Lush. That was very visual. Thank you very much. There's a slight change to the agenda. Arena will be going next to the second speaker. She will be evaluated by David Hall this evening. And she talks about stepping out of that comfort zone at Toastmasters, and taking on the role of table topics evaluator made her step out of her comfort zone. So with a speech entitled, oh, sorry, I've forgotten one thing. Can I we always give feedback to our speakers, and on your chairs you'll have an evaluation slip. So if I could just have a minute on the clock, if you could just write a few words, a commendation and a recommendation for Tanuj, and then you can give that to him during the network break. So, just continuing on, I was talking, Irina is our second speaker. She'll be evaluated by David Hall. David, would you mind reading out Irina's objectives?
I will, absolutely. So Irina's speaking, it's her last speech from level 2 of Pathways. So Irina is the first member of our club to have completed level 2 of Pathways. But we're not going to report this until the new counting year, because we want to make sure that it's fine, it's only within the club. Yeah, well, there'll be some technical difficulties. Anyway, Irina's speech is from the Persuasive Influence Pathway, and she is going to give us an introduction to mentoring in Toastmasters. So it's about a speech about a time when she was a protege and sharing the impact and importance of having a mentor, and talking about mentorship within Toastmasters.
So with the speech entitled Impact and Mentoring, please welcome up Irina.
Knowledge, wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to introduce you to mentoring. How many of you participated in a mentorship program? Raise your hand. How many of you had a mentor before? Quite a few. It's good. My job is going to be easy today. I will try to explain briefly the benefits of having a mentor and how mentorship can help you. So, doing this, I'm going to use 3 examples, and that is not going to be from my experience. However, I'm going to use 3 characters from famous movies, and I hope you're going to enjoy their stories. So I'm going to start with the first one, and if some of you can say the name of the movie and the character. Yes. Does anyone remember his name? Not the actor. So, in this movie, we have Chris and his younger son. So what this movie teaches us, Chris was a mentor for his younger son, and what he managed to do is to plant it in his mind the idea of never giving up, which I think is very good. For those who know the movie, probably can understand better their journey. I'm not going to stop in more details, but you can watch it at home. So I'm going to the second one, which is
Dumbledore.
Yes, that was an easy one. Yeah, so Dumbledore is, let's say, a typical example of a mentor. He's very classic in his style of delivering and teaching hurry to achieve his goal and to accomplish and never go from the good path into the evil side. So I think he's very good in his way and he's a good mentor.
Master.
This is my famous one, and my favorite one. Yes, it's from Kung Fu Panda, and I really like this animation, mainly because it's teaching a lot in terms of wisdom, in terms of sport, and in terms of technique. Probably you're not going to notice when you watch it first time, but the technique Master Shifu is using is understanding the needs and understanding the motivation for that little panda. And the motivation was food. He wanted food. And he used that, he used the food to motivate the panda to accomplish his goal, which is a great technique. Finding the need and motivate the protege to achieve his goal. And with these are my 3 little examples, and I hope you enjoyed it. And for those who doesn't know the movies, I recommend them because they are really good journey to understand what mentorship is and what a mentor should have in order to help his protege to achieve the goal. And I've identified 3 main qualities of a mentor by using these 3 examples. And of course there are lots of them, but I'm going to tell you 3 because you're not going to remember all of them. The main one is support, commitment, because a mentor should be committed to achieve that goal that the protege is setting up. And the third one is intelligence and experience. Experience because nobody can be a mentor just in one day. You need an experience to make sure that you can follow that journey with your mentee. And what mentorship does in general is basically to get the protege to achieve a long-term goal. And by watching those 3 movies, you probably understand much better what I mean by that. Mentorship is perceived by others as a waste of time and waste of money. However, I think it's gaining support from those who think that they can achieve faster the goal they are setting up. And I do agree with that. And why waste your money and time to find this mentor when you can have it here at Toastmaster? Am I right? How many of you know about the mentorship program that Toastmaster provides? And how many of you participated in it? Well, now is the time to take a chance, isn't it? Research it and find out more, because it's such a great way of having a free education here at Toastmaster. We as a people desire to inspire and to be inspired. We also desire that our challenges are listened to. We also desire, the most thing desire is to get a constructive guidance to achieve our goal. So why not taking this step today in Toastmaster and getting into this mentorship program? I've been waiting for so long to get such a valuable, unconditional and free support. And remember, there is no better place to grow than when a mentor knows his job. And it is unbelievable.
Thank you, Irina. Can we have a minute on the clock to give Irina some feedback on the evaluation slips? Yeah, a commendation and a recommendation. would you mind reading out the objectives?
Yes, so Cheryl is doing her third speech from level 1 of Pathways. The speech can be on any subject that she wishes it to be, but she does need to take into account her feedback from her previous speech and incorporate that into this speech.
Thank you. So Cheryl has been training for a 5K race. So she's going beyond her comfort zone in terms of stretching herself physically, and that goal is helping her to beat the fear of not being able to do it. So good luck with that, Cheryl. Her speech tonight, the title is Can I Tell You a Secret? With a speech entitled Can I Tell You a Secret? Please welcome up Cheryl Dempster.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Trojans, and our most welcomed guests this evening. Tonight, I'm going to reveal a secret about myself. But first, you must promise not to tell anyone outside of this room. Do I have your agreement? Yeah? Okay. Everyone, I'll let you into my little secret. I have a superpower. Yeah, me. Can you believe it? I know, right? Listen, I recently discovered my superpower and I've been just absolutely bursting to tell somebody, but I thought, why not tell my secret in the safest place that I know? The safest, most friendliest club in London, if not the whole world, Trojan Speakers. So, here's the backstory. The start of this year was really tough for me. I was just not hitting any of my targets personally. I was just struggling emotionally. I was completely flawed physically, and quite frankly speaking, the money now I run. And I'll translate that. That means I was a little bit tight for cash as well. So yeah, I'm sure you're thinking enough of the backstory and get to the point. Tell us the secret. Okay, I will. First of all, I just need to read a brief statement. I fully acknowledge that I, Cheryl Dempster, am not the only person with this superpower. Okay, disclaimer over. Some of you may remember at the last meeting I gave a very polite description of my lack of exposure to podcasts. If you didn't, maybe go back to last meeting's video and take a look. But anyway, I do have the opportunity from time to time to listen to a bit of talk radio. On the odd occasion when I've got a beautiful son, Malik, he's 2.5, but he's full of energy, and on days when he's bouncing around like a complete maniac, he won't take a break, he won't sleep, but he gives me the opportunity to listen to some talk radio in the car, because he'll fall asleep when I'm doing the school run, which takes about an hour. Last week I was listening to Jo Good in the afternoon, and she has this radio show and she interviews different guests, and last week's guest was a young lady, and she'd taken part in a race, which was a horse race, and it's a 600-mile horse race. The young lady's name was Laura Pryor Palmer, and the race was called the Mongol Derby. Now, she was 19 years old, she came from nowhere, and she actually won this race. And I remember the interviewer asking her, during those really inevitable, difficult moments, what kept you going? And funnily enough, what she did, she actually referred to the guest that was on the previous day, and I missed that, but they played an excerpt from that interview. And the guest's name was, let me see, let me remind myself, his name was Tom, excuse me. Oh, this is a bit annoying, isn't it? Tom, what was your name? His name, I'm dying here. It was Tom Gregory. Right, so you go and Google Tom Gregory, and you can also, while you take your time as well when we leave the meeting, go and Google Laura Pryor Palmer and look at the race. I won't bore you with all the details of it. But Tom Gregory, he was 11 years old, about 30 years ago. He swam the English Channel, and I just thought that was absolutely amazing. And going? And I just thought it was fascinating listening to him, because he was telling us, you know, when he was swimming the channel, it was so difficult, he had moments where he thought he wouldn't get through it. He even fell asleep while he was swimming, but what kept him going was his superpower. And Laura had that very same superpower. And in that very moment, I realised that I had the same superpower. Do you want me to tell you what it is?
Yes.
It's the power of the breath. Tom and Laura had harnessed their breath to help them get through difficulties, difficult challenges. And I'll let you know how I'm now harnessing my breath as my superpower. Like Cam told you, I'm training for a 5k race. And a friend of mine asked me, you know, one day, do you fancy doing this? And she said, yeah, it's a 5k race, do you fancy joining? I was like, yeah, why not? And then reality hit me, I'm not fit, I've got to start training. So what did I do? I asked my faithful, trusted friend Auntie Google, and she directed me to an app called Couch to 5k. So I downloaded it and I started my training program. And I took that first step. I had Michael Johnson in my ear telling me to take that first step, and I did that for 90 seconds, which then developed into a run. And then I calmed down back to a walk, and I did that over and over for about half an hour on the first run. I did 2 more of those runs in the first week. I went on to week 2. I increased my intensity. I was hitting my goals, and I was feeling pretty confident with myself. And also in that time, I was learning to breathe in and out deeply with each stride, and I felt stronger. By week 3, I was thinking, this is going really, really well. I was halfway through the run, the intensity had increased again, and something happened. I got this cramp and I didn't know what was going on. But for me, usually pain would tell me to stop. But something different happened. I decided to breathe deeply through each cramp, and it helped me move forward. It also helped me to push harder. It helped me to get through it at a faster rate, and I used my breath to enhance myself. So, in essence, my superpower is the power of harnessing my breath. Tom and Laura did it, and guys, you can too. So how will you use your superpower to enhance your individual lives? Thank you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Cheryl. Can we have a minute on the clock to give Cheryl some feedback, please? Thank you. So we've heard from our 3 speakers. Before we go on to the evaluations, we will vote for the best speaker, but I'm going to call on our timekeeper Sharon to give us the times of all the speeches this evening.
I'm going to make it very quick. Tanuj, an extensive 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Irina, 6 minutes, 46 seconds. And Cheryl, 4 minutes and 48 seconds. Thank you.
So on your seats you'll have some slips, voting slips for the best speaker. If you're able to write down the name of the person you thought was the best speech this evening. So it was, I'll remind you again, it was Tanuj, Irina, or Cheryl. Thank you very much. evaluations. Our first evaluator this evening is Jayesh De Silva. He will be evaluating Tanuja's speech. When I asked him to tell me about him stepping out of his comfort zone, he told me in March he volunteered himself for a panel discussion for a renewable energy conference, and he did that in front of 300 or so industry experts. I would say that's pretty impressive. Well done, Jayesh. Let's welcome up Jayesh to evaluate Tanuja's speech.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Toastmasters and welcomers. I'm evaluating Tanuja's speech, Cricket plus India equals hysteria. Just before I go into the specifics of that speech, I would like to just remind you of what were the criteria that was to be covered under this number 8 speech. It was about getting comfortable with using visual aids. So it was about using visual aids that was appropriate to the audience and to the message, and using visual aids with ease and confidence. And the rest of it is as any other speech, using body language, vocal variety, and so on. Coming to this speech, well, the things I liked about the speech were the topic itself, the title. I really like the hypothesis. Cricket plus India equals hysteria. And I think that really caught my eye. And of course the visuals were really nice, really interesting. But what could be improved here is less of the visual aids. I think the visual aids were, as the competent communicator manual said, should not take over the speech. It should be enhancing the message, grabbing your attention. So to that effect, there was plenty of visual aids. If I was recommending, I would say try to select the best 4 or 5 and stick to that, because then it gives you more time to deliver your message and look at the audience. When you're also having to turn around and press the button, it takes away from the audience connection with you. Your voice, your body is also a visual aid, is the visual aid. Let's give that pride and place. I like the words that Tanuj used, things like hypothesis, hysteria, going the 9 yards for T20, really nice. I would like more of that. So in conclusion, very pretty visual aids, lots of video clips, but give yourself time, cut it down to the bare minimum, and use it as an enhancer, and give yourself the time to connect with your audience. And the main thing is stick to time. Test out your equipment beforehand. So on that, I would like to end my evaluation. Well done.
Thank you, Jayesh. So our second evaluator this evening is David Horn. He'll be evaluating Irina's speech. When I asked him about stepping out of his comfort zone, his first response to me was, "I'm always stepping out my comfort zone." I don't expect anything less from David, but then I pushed him on a specific example, and he said 6 months ago he had a falling out with a client whom he had worked with for 6 years. Now he's trying to buy the company, and I just hope it's not for 6 figures, because 6 seems to be the number here. But let's welcome up David to evaluate Irina's speech.
So this was Irina's level 2 completion speech from her pathway of persuasive influence. And it was a speech that was all about mentoring and giving us the impetus to explore mentoring. And it's a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, as the president of the club, and it's an area that we don't currently have on our committee, and I would love to see us find a way to fill, but also from my own personal experience where I've had a couple of mentors in my life who have really, really played a major role. So I'm hugely supportive of the concept of mentoring, and I love the subject. It was really interesting because Irina gave us 3 examples, not from real life, but from films. And that was just a different twist. It gave us something to imagine, and it gave us something to think about in the context of going into each of those films. And I'm sorry, I've never watched Kung Fu Panda. I'll clearly have to. But the other 2 films I know quite well. And the idea of the role of the mentorship played by Chris in The Pursuit of Happiness, and the role of mentorship played by Dumbledore in the Harry Potter films. And I'm sure that the Kung Fu Panda guy was also equally effective at that. And of course, using that tool of the power of 3 to get an idea across. And not only did she use it there with the actual mentors, but she also used it to talk about the quality of mentorship, with the support, the commitment, and the experience. And she drew that back into her experience here, and something that is going to encourage everyone within the club to explore mentorship, because it's a resource that we need to develop and provide for you, that it is available to you for free as a member of this club, and it is available to you to help and grow and benefit your own speaking career, and at some stage as you grow and develop, for you to become a mentor yourself. And she challenged us, saying there is no greater way to grow. The one thing she asked me to look out for specifically was a bit of vocal variety, and I found that Irina had slightly more vocal variety today. There were a few times when she got quite loud. There might have been a couple of times when she could have gone a bit softer, and just changing the pace of her voice, but it was nice because she felt she had been a bit monotone before, and it was nice to see a bit of variety, and it was nice to see her developing, and with a little bit of mentoring, I'm sure we can get that flowing beautifully. Objectives achieved, and very well done completing level 2 as the first member of the club. Irina.
Thank you, David. So our final speech evaluator this evening is Rupa Datta. Rupa is a past president. She also likes stepping out of her comfort zone. She gave me the example of accepting the nomination and being elected Division B Director for this coming year, which I think deserves a round of applause. Let's welcome Rupa Datta.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm evaluating Cheryl's speech, which is her 3rd speech in Pathways. I'm going to use a structure that is the new pathway structure, if you like, and that is a commendation, what Cheryl can improve on, and what she can do to stretch herself. So, commendations. She made contact with her evaluator before the meeting. That's me. So we were able to talk a little bit about the project and what she was expecting. In terms of, in relation to the previous speech, her audience engagement in the previous speech was very good, and I felt that was the same today. I commented on, as her evaluator in the previous speech, that I wasn't sure that that speech was that relevant to all audience members. However, I felt today her subject matter was. We all want something that's motivational, and I felt that today's speech was relevant to everybody. In her last speech, she had a clear structure, the power of 3, if you like. That seemed to be lacking today. However, she used another Toastmasters power, and that was the power of storytelling. In terms of improvements, and this is the general one, evaluation pointing pathways, particularly for this particular project. If I hadn't been here and I hadn't evaluated her last speech, I wouldn't know what those points were. So as a speaker, make sure you give your evaluator the objectives. We talked in advance of today about use of notes. She used them. However, I felt it was a bit of a crutch for her. I didn't think she needed them. She also ended with the same question that she started with, and talking about superpowers. However, she could have used more vocal variety and voice projecting, because even though she asked a really pertinent rhetorical question. I didn't really hear it and I didn't feel like it was the end. In terms of stretch goals, Luther notes is the obvious one, but also in the same spirit of training for your 5K, booking your next speech and keeping the momentum up in Toastmasters.
We're nearly at the end of the first part of the evening. We have a tradition here at Trojans where we ask our guests to stand up to tell us their name and a short sentence on what brought them here this evening. So if I could ask all of our guests to stand up. So we'll start off this side and we'll just go clockwise.
So I'm Tatiana, I'm from Moldova. I was class 1 master member back home a few years ago. And a few weeks ago, having a talk with Irina, she told me she's a member. Okay, I will come as well. So that's why I'm happy. I'm happy I'm here. So that's like stepping out of my comfort zone as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kirti. I'm a Toastmasters from the Grosvenor Square Speakers Club. It's a pleasure to be here today, being a GE. Stepping out of my comfort zone, I'm sure she's going to share it. Cam's going to share it with us later, so I'll let her have that. But today I was stepping out of my comfort zone as well because I had to get a haircut. And a woman's, for hair and a haircut, it matters. Most of you will nod and understand. That's it. Thank you.
I'm Cam Farmer, and I think I stepped out of my comfort zone to come here. So I actually spoke to someone because they did a speech in a wedding, and I thought you did a very good speech, and that's something I couldn't ever do. It's something that would be impossible for me to go in front of people and say anything. So he mentioned that he came to something called Toastmasters, but that was about a year ago. So I'd forgotten about it, and but I know it was something that I needed to look at many years ago. So it was something that was a problem in communicating. So I think it's general communication. So I think it's trying to come out of your comfort zone rather than getting further down. So I think, yeah, I might have left a bit late, but just it was interesting. And,
Thank you.
Never too late. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Maxine. I'm Cheryl's auntie, and I've been supporting her all her life. So when she said she was doing this evening, I thought I'd come and support her again. I'm very proud of her, and I thought she was the best here. So not being biased or anything, but she was the best here, and she's probably the best we're ever going to get. So this evening, coming out of my comfort zone, I was rushed by my niece to get here, and I haven't got earrings on. So yeah, I'm not very comfortable without earrings on. So apart from that, it's been a nice evening, and I've come to support my niece. So.
Oh, thank you everyone. We all going to take a break now. It's a network break. There's tea and coffee, and we only have 5 minutes because we're keeping to time. So help yourself.
Grab your tea and coffee really fast.
Yes.
And we've now got tea thanks to expert Tanya who arrived back just in the nick of time. Well done. Thank you. Super.
8:41 here.
That's the wrong.
I mean, otherwise I wouldn't be here.
Thanks,
I don't know if she started the timing
She's deciding.
so I have to pick that one.
I think so.
Because I think while I was in the introduction part, it was green on
Kirti, you want a cup of tea?
No,
the part that I thought I wanted to center the story on, I don't know if this was the last bit, thing that got concluded. He was with white people, and they were singing India would win. So it was from a cricket match recently, and I wanted to say that how Indian cricket has gone so far ahead. So I wanted to, have that mic drop moment, but it's okay. That's it. I think the first part was stretched. I think it was stretched. Sharon, did you start my time while I was fixing the projector?
No, you were going for ages. I put those things.
Okay, because I didn't realize how quickly it came to.
You know when you put this at home?
I know.
No, I showed you where the time was good. Because you went, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this really.
I had that clicker thing that I wanted to bring, and it somehow disappeared.
Secondly,
Oh, you? Okay, I think on the side probably. Yeah.
So it's on the side.
Then you can have the video, everybody's having a go at me. He's doing 1 minute, I'm going to do you really got me in trouble today.
Good.
Yes.
I know. I've always seen this feeling of but I've not seen anything. Yeah, but then
we are going to do a table topics. Now, just for the benefit of everyone, what the table topics is, let me tell you, it's like a mini speech in itself. It has a short introduction, a body of the speech, and then a conclusion. This is an impromptu speech which takes you out of your comfort zone. And this comfort zone is something which we all want to go out of. As famous author Brian Tracy has mentioned, go out of your comfort zone, make yourself uncomfortable and awkward, and that's what makes you more successful in life. People who have chosen to come into Trojans or a Toastmaster meeting, they have broken the first barrier to overcome this comfort zone. People who have chosen to come into a meeting after joining Toastmasters have broken the next barrier. And people who are going to come and deliver a speech are going to break the last barrier. Without much ado, I would like to now call the candidates or people who have nominated themselves for the table topics. So the first topic is, describe the last time you tried something new. Describe the last time you tried something new. And this table topic goes to Melody.
The last time I tried something new, it's hard to pick a particular thing, or even what the last thing was, because I think I mentioned before, I'm in a year of work, I'm taking a sabbatical, and so I'm almost trying to make everything I do new, and the things that aren't new kind of feel new. So, for example, I used to produce digital video for a living, but after 10 years in a job which involved no digital video production, going back to that now, I'm finding actually feels like a totally new thing. It's actually making me feel quite old, because how much the technology has changed, the applications and sort of what's normal, what's modern, is totally different. I looked at some of my show reels right from when I left university the other day, and honestly they looked a little bit reminiscent of an 80s music video, to such an extent that I'm sort of wondering whether I can continue to use that. Doing something new, everything I'm doing at the moment feels new, even the stuff that's actually quite old. I'm trying to think what other things I've picked up. I've started to learn sewing, that's a new thing for me. I think definitely the truest answer to that question is partly because I seem to be getting on and forgetting everything that I've ever done, and partly because some of the things that I like doing, it's a long time since I've done them, and also because I'm adopting new skills and trying to develop myself in lots of different ways. Everything that I'm doing at the moment is new to me. I think that's a good thing, because that's how you develop. And talking about keeping outside of our comfort zones, I think my aim for this year off is to step outside my comfort zone and then stay outside it and keep walking. Thanks.
So the next topic that I would like to give is, if you want to change an event in history, if you want to change an event in history, what would it be and why? If you want to change an event in history, what would it be and why? And this question, or this topic, goes to Matt.
Wow, that's a really big one. Changing events in history. So you could say something quite obvious, can't you? Like maybe change the Second World War or the First, maybe for that not to happen. But then I think there's always going to be this massive friction of everyone discovering this super massive war now. So I won't change that. Oh God, what else? maybe from that point when we left the trees, I think, you know, like when we was more ape-like people and we just lived in the trees. God, the bananas back then must have been so fresh to what we've got polluted things now. And yeah, we didn't have to worry about mobile phones or public speaking. We must have been so free just to do whatever we want. All we had to think about actually was just getting a meal, really, wasn't it? I mean, I think walking's overrated, isn't it? You know, we all get tired of walking. That's why we invent things so we don't have to walk, like, you know, cars and buses and. So I think, yeah, swinging in the trees would be a lot better than what we do now. So that point from when we left the trees to the ground, I'll just say, no, don't bother. Don't bother. You know, you're better off up there. Yeah, that's what I'll change.
The next topic is, what would you like to be said about you at your funeral? What would you like to be said about you at your funeral? And this topic goes to Kyam Khurana.
Something good. Can you say that question again?
What would you like to be said about you at your funeral?
Well, I hope they said he was a nice person and he was a pleasant, quiet person. Maybe someone who didn't come out too much, so maybe he needed to experience more of life. So I think, I don't know what else to say. I was not actually thinking about that. It's something everyone probably has to think about. Well, I just hope it's good things, and that's about it, really. I've not thought of anything, and I'll probably be very missed. It's just I've not thought about that sort of question before, so it's quite a touchy subject, because I guess everyone's going to go one day, and I guess it's what you're going to do in this life. A lot of people just do things to please others, and so you're just following what other people are telling you to do, and you don't always develop yourself then. So I think sometimes you have to go outside that comfort zone and come to somewhere like this place. So hopefully you can say your bit, and basically you'll be a different person. Some might not like it, some might like the big change. So I think the time's up.
The next one is, would you rather be a great musician, athlete, scientist, artist, politician, or a writer? Would you rather be a great musician, athlete, scientist, artist, politician, or a writer? And this question goes to Maxine.
Right, a scientist, a writer, or a musician? Well, I think I'm going to go for something which I can't do. One thing I can't do is I can't sing. So I think it would be beautiful to be a musician, somebody who stood up in a crowd and just sang beautifully and everybody appreciated her. And I think that's something which I would like to be, like a beautiful singer. I'm not going to say I'm going to be the next Beyonce or anything like that, but maybe. But yeah, I think that's what I would like to be. I think a writer would be nice, a scientist would be nice, but me personally, I think a musician, somebody who just gives pleasure to people, and music is something which everybody enjoys. So I think standing up in a crowd or standing up in like a big concert and just singing for people and just seeing happiness on their faces and know that I'm giving pleasure to lots of people, I think that's what I'd like to do. Yeah, I'm going to stick with that one. Thank you.
So that concludes the table topics for today, and I'll hand over to Madam Toastmaster Cam.
Thank you. Thank you, Smee. So we are going to vote on the best table topic, but before we do that, can I invite Sharon up to give us the times, please?
Thank you, everyone. And the table topics times, I'm just going to quickly give them, I just want to say them one more time. Melody, 1 minute 50 seconds. Matt, 1 minute 38 seconds. Cam, 2 minutes 7 seconds. Very impressive for a first time. And Charles, not sorry to look at Maxine, 55 seconds. Well done. If you just caught 5 more seconds, you would have made it to a minute down. Thank you very much.
Okay. So if you look at the bottom of your slips, you'll have a place where you can vote for the best table topic. So the names were Melody, Matt, Cam, and Maxine. So like the speeches, the table topics also will be evaluated. Tonight's table topic evaluator is Linda White. When I asked her about her comfort zone, she spoke about going to southern India last year. She travelled with 36 people, sharing 2 toilets and 2 wash basins for a few nights and a few days. So I'm sure that was fun. But what's even more fun is evaluating table topics. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Cam, and thank you, Stuart, for the table topics. The first person up was Melody, and she started by repeating the question, which is good because it clarifies it for the audience. I would recommend, though, when you repeat the question, to say it slowly and deliberately and give yourself a bit more time to think about it and the audience a bit more time to assimilate it. But once Melody got going, she turned it around really nicely and said the things she's tried that's new were actually things she's done before that she's come back to, but they feel new. So I really like that. It was kind of a different take on it. And I did love her nice conversational style. Next up we had Matt, and I liked the way he acknowledged what a big, big question it was. We're kind of preparing for a big, big answer. Of course, a big, big answer is pretty hard for such a big, big question on the spur of the moment. And he gave us this idea, throughout the idea of World War II never happening. But then he got into a new rhythm and he came up with the idea it's a pity we gave up swinging from the trees and life getting complicated and difficult like it is now. And he was really eloquent when he was talking about that. So my recommendation, it's a really difficult one, would be to find your one big theme, you can be eloquent on, and use that rather than take us on a bit of a journey to it. Canon. Okay. Thank you. And I loved the way he had a bit of humour when he came up. He said, I hope it's something good. That was nice. And he came back to that again towards the end. It's, I hope it's something good. I was thinking when you're really stuck for something to say, this is a general recommendation, you could just list all the things you want people to think about you. Just, you know, she's a nice person, she's kind, she's a good Toastmaster, whatever. You could just, that would be a way of thinking, just come up with a list, and that might help you out. But Cam got really into it and became quite philosophical towards the end about, you know, not always doing what other people expect or want you to do. So it ended up being a really nice philosophical ending. Maxine was the fourth and final table topic speaker, and I loved how she so quickly decided that it was a musician. She wanted to be a singer, and she told us why she wanted to be a singer. She's not musical, so it would be great for her. It was hard to find a recommendation, but there's one little one. I think she was playing with a ring a bit, a little bit of nervous-looking fiddling. It was the only thing that seemed nervous. But try to find other things to do with your hands when you're speaking, and keep your nice open body language. Maxine repeated about being a singer again at the end, so that was a nice end, and she talked about it giving other people pleasure. So that gave us a nice sense that being a musician wasn't just for Maxine herself, but it was for other people as well, and that was a nice round way to finish. Madam Toastmaster, thank you.
So we've heard from all the evaluators this evening, except the general evaluation. Before we vote for the best evaluation, I'm going to invite Sharon back up. I think it's her last time up here to give us the times.
Thank you very much. The first evaluator was Dinesh, and he came 3 minutes 6 seconds. Then it was David, 2 minutes 35 seconds, followed by Rupa, 2 minutes 23 seconds, and last but not least, Linda, 3 minutes 22 seconds.
So if you look on your slips, there's a place for best evaluator. If you could vote for who you thought was the best evaluator, it was Jayesh, David, Rupa, or Linda. Grammarian Paula has been listening very carefully, making notes. I would like to invite Paula back up to give us her grammarian report.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. So, the word that I suggested that we use this evening was chance. And funnily enough, even though Irina was the only person who used it in her speech, I think it was an interesting flip on how we actually approach that. And I say that because everyone here took a chance by coming up to the stage and actually sharing their views with us on what it's like to step outside of one's comfort zone. Never easy, and I particularly liked Melody's take on it, that her aim is to stay out of her comfort zone and to keep on walking, which I think is a useful lesson to all of us actually in terms of motivation. In terms of how I've structured this, I'm mindful of the time as well. It's really just the words that people used. I think everyone was really ambitious with the words that they used, which is fantastic. So it's just a sort of comment on that, and just to praise you for the variety of language that you all use. So starting with Tanuj. pinch of salt, attire, consensus, hysteria, bare minimum, accessibility, jamboree, and it's interesting, especially with that last word. When I saw the video that you had, the clip of the motorcycle riders and the gentlemen dancing, I thought, wow, that looks like a jamboree. That definitely looks like a party I want to be part of. Irina, taking a chance, protege, motivation. When we sort of go through that whole concept of being mentored by someone, it's actually taking a chance. The mentor taking a chance on the mentee taking a chance on their mentor. So an interesting use of that analogy, I think. Cheryl, harnessing the power of one's breath. When you came up here and shared your speech with us, and you're trying to find the name of the second person that was interviewed, you actually used that. You harnessed the power of your breath by just taking time. I've got it, and you delivered it. So well done for that, because it's always nerve-wracking. Disclaimer: couch to 5K, and telling us about your experiences. So thank you for sharing that with all of us. Jamish, interestingly, you used the words bare minimum as well. So I've never heard that twice in the night. So well done for that. And yeah, thank you to all of you this evening. So taking a chance. Well, you all did that, and you all did that expertly.
For your report. Kerala has also been waiting and taking notes for us. Welcome up the Harpmaster for this evening, Kerala.
Well, I think I need to look at my list a little more, but I did pick up on so I wasn't sneezing away at the back as well. So, first one was Paula. Paula went to a meeting recently when she stepped out of her comfort zone, and when she left the meeting, someone said something to her. What were the exact words?
You find a friend who was there, who's there.
In today's speech, oh sorry, today's speech said there were some different languages spoken in India. How many?
25.
That's correct.
Oh.
And a test match, if anyone likes cricket, lasts how many days?
5 days.
That's correct. I'm quite mindful of time. Irina showed us 3 films this evening. Can we name them all?
Kung Fu Panda, Harry Potter, and the Pursuit of Happiness.
Correct. And in Kung Fu Panda, what was the motivating factor? And what are the 3 to 4 qualities of a mentor?
Intelligence, knowledge, motivation,
support, experience, and commitment.
Yes. Intelligence. What's the name of Cheryl's son?
Malik.
That's cheap, because you know. And Tom, the first speaker on that radio station, how old was he?
He was 11 when he smelled the channel.
Yes.
And it was 30 years later, so he's 41.
Well, there were 11 years.
Two for that, yeah.
And what is the app that Cheryl's using at the moment? And sorry, Summit. He wakes up at what time every morning?
5:30. 7 o'clock. 5:30.
5:30.
Normally 7.
And Melody, what did she do before she took her sabbatical?
Shows.
Yes. And Max Reed is Cheryl's
Auntie. I'm an auntie.
That's sweet. That's what everyone. So I definitely need to work on my
So those are the speeches, evaluations, table topics done, and there's one more role left, which is the role of general evaluator. Kirti Diriyanani from Grosvenor Square Club has been taking notes at the back, and when I asked her when she last stepped out of her comfort zone, she said last week she went on a shopping spree. Shopping makes her very uncomfortable. Welcome, Kirti.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. Thank you very much for having me here as your GE. And for some reason, every time we GE, you always feel like you're like this big watchman. So everybody feels like they're going to get something being told. We don't bite. All we do is a different perspective of how what we saw, what we noticed, what we enjoyed, and we evaluate those who haven't been evaluated yet. Now in the beginning, when I came in, I've been here before, but I'm always drawn by your warmth and kindness. There's a wonderful atmosphere of friendliness that is always betrothed in the meeting and as well as outside the meeting, whenever we meet at other conferences. One thing I would love to just suggest at the beginning, even in the friendliness, the setup of the room is vital. It's vital because it does affect the flow of a meeting. And when glitches happen, and they do happen, the wonderful space of Toastmasters is that we go in our uncomfort zone, and then we have to be impromptu, make a change, and make a flip right away. Because it happens outside of Toastmasters as well. So one of the things would be the projector. Today the projector was really not our time of favor. And while we did start late, how could we improve on it? The projector is new. Some places don't have equipment. So it's great, you have a beautiful asset. So when you get the asset, why not just test it out, come in earlier, especially if you're using visual aids, or mention it in your previous meetings so that you can play around with it. And what I loved about the cricket speech was there was the 3 stumps and in the middle was the shoes. Well, what we could do here is be a little improv, you know? How else can we do it? Can we maybe make a smaller table using chairs and then put it somewhere where it's not in the way and it saves you time? And also what happens is then the speaker doesn't get nervous. Because already the speech is going on in the head, and then when it doesn't work, it's like double panic if you want to get it done. So a lot of empathy goes there as well. But what I would love to say on that part, home run. Timekeeper and Toastmaster worked very well together, from the screen and off the screen. They tried to hone in the time and bring it back into time. And I think that is collaboration, teamwork, and that was evident today. And that is something you should really commend yourself and go further with it, always. So let's go on to evaluating. Tanuj, starting with Sergeant of Arms, clear instructions, mobile phones, and the exits. Very well done. But I would just go one more step. Prepare certificates before the meeting. Pull them out, put them at the back, so then it's ready. And it makes it easier to flow. Otherwise, the distractions of the boxes in between, it does give a bit of a distraction. President, love his sense of humor. When things, I always think about when things go wrong, sense of humor always makes it better. So whenever glitches happen, that sense of humor makes you make it lighthearted, and your creative thinking kicks in again. One thing I could suggest is keep the roles separately. When you take 2 roles, sometimes in clubs we have to take 2 roles, we can mix them. But sometimes it's just really nice to keep it clear and structured. Timekeeper, ace. To come up, to be very conscious of time and know that time is of essence. She was honing it in while the speaking was going on. She kept track of time. But not only did she keep track of time, she was already rescheduling, how can I make it better? And when you work on that skill, that is accomplishment, because time is precious for many of us. So, well done. The Heart Master. I wish I had one of you in our clubs. I love it. Especially when you get thrown chocolate. I mean, I would like to get thrown chocolate if I listen really well. It would make me listen more. My only commendation is speak louder. When the roofs are high, throwing the voice, it would be nice if you play around with your voice and maybe just test it out. Grammarian Paula. Paula, clear instructions. Wish I had your listening ears. Very good. You picked up on a lot of words and a lot of good use of language. What I would like is sometimes when we come in late, and it's always good to have a reminder somewhere. So even if you come in late, what would be useful is this sheet. Always, there's a place where you can put word of the day. So even if you're coming in late, you're covered. You can mention it, people can refer back to it, and then it can be part of it. On the table topic, master. So clear tone variety. I enjoyed it. First it was hard. I was like, what do I look for as a commendation? There was one part. Sometimes we get caught up at one part of the space that we forget to spend an equal time here. So just be a little aware, come back to the center, and then move off to the other side. That would be one of my recommendations. Table topics evaluator Linda. I enjoyed your enthusiasm. I enjoyed her enthusiasm, and it was great format, great Toastmasters, commendation, recommendation. And while I enjoyed it, the one commendation is from the eyes, bring it to the audience. Connect with the audience so that they feel connected into it. Jayesh is the first evaluator. Very clear, good instructions, reminded us of the visual aids. Again, one of the hardest things is giving the feedback. It's getting to the recommendation. Don't be afraid. If you got to mention something, we're here in a very safe environment to bring what we don't want to hear sometimes. So it'd be useful to take the recommendation, the one that you may have wanted to say, and say it. And that would have been on time. Second evaluator, David. Love the great use of hands. I love the way he creates space with his whole body language, and then he engages with everyone. I'm very conscious about this, but sometimes I tend to wonder as well. And that's one thing we tend to do. We wonder just to make sure we cover everything. But sometimes just standing would have been my recommendation. The third evaluator, Rupa. Now, Rupa is an experienced speaker, so we all know that. And sometimes it's the hardest person to give a recommendation. But I managed to find one good commendation and one good recommendation. So the commendation is good pace, very clear on giving instructions of the new pathway, because many of us are trying to find our way to it. My recommendation is we can get stuck standing in one place and then just talking and moving our body. It would be great to take the energy and go further and actually take the steps here and take the steps there. It moves the room. Toastmaster. Clear explanation. She stayed with the team. When you're in time, when it's about time, keeping present with the meeting. I think as Toastmasters, that's one of the hardest things to do. I mean, for me, I find it a challenge, more so than the general evaluation, to be honest. But she did well. So, well done. Overall, found it a wonderful meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hetty. So, we're at the end of the meeting. It's been a pleasure to be your Toastmaster and taking you through the evening. I'm going to head and hand back to our President in a moment. But I just want to say thank you for everybody for running with the stepping out of your comfort zone theme. Everybody ran with it, everybody answered my questions. So I was able to back to everyone, and I hope you enjoyed it. So thank you very much.
Right, my favourite part of the meeting is the awards. It's great fun. But I actually want to pick up on one thing, and it's linked to some comments that we've had tonight, and it's linked to our investment in the club. And we bought some new technology, and it's great. And definitely we've got some work to do. First of all, with the setup and connection of the technology, but also, as we observed tonight, different standards of presenting with technology. And so one of the things that I will commit to doing probably in early July, at our first meeting subject to the timetable, is actually giving an educational presentation on the use of technology. Because I think now that we've got the technology, it's really, really important for people to learn how to use it properly. So that's a commitment that I will make, and I'll work with Tanuj to fit that into the schedule. So, the winners tonight. We'll start with Best Table Topics. Matt! And the Best Evaluator, Judge. And finally, Best Speaker, Cheryl. So that concludes this evening's formalities. Just to remind you, next Wednesday the committee are meeting to start mapping out and planning out for what we want to do next year, because I'm committing on behalf of the committee that we're going to go for the President's Distinguished Award, and we're going to keep on investing in the club, and we're going to keep on doing great things. Thank you everyone for coming tonight. If you have friends who didn't come tonight, please cajole them to come to the next meeting, which is 2 weeks tonight on the 26th of June.